Neapolitano's Pizza is a set collection card game developed by us here at ALK Games, and it's about to be launched on Kickstarter in either April or May of 2018. In Neapolitano's Pizza, you're competing pizza chefs hired by Nicola Neapolitano himself, owner of the most famous pizzeria around. The goal is to bake the best pizzas, avoid the toxic ingredients, and maybe ruin some other players' pizzas along the way to get the job. Let's see what components are included and how to set up the game. In a two-player game, you're going to need 12 pepperoni, 12 salsiccia, 12 margarita, 8 carne, and 12 random toxic ingredients. And these can be drawn randomly or staggered based on how difficult you want the game to be. So they range in amounts from -1 to -5. And so you can put in more -5s if you want the game to be a little bit harder. You could put in -1s if you want the game to be easier, or you can just randomize them and see what happens. Also, you're going to need 3 order tickets each of the pepperoni, the salsiccia, the margarita, the carne, and you're going to need 4 half-and-half order tickets in a 2-player game. In a 3 to 4 player game, you are going to need to add 4 extra pepperoni on top of the previous amount, an extra 4 salsiccia, an extra 4 margarita, an extra 4 carne, and 6 more of these toxic ingredients. And that also can be random. That can also be picking and choosing what amounts you want. And then you're going to keep the same amount of order tickets, the 3 pepperoni, the 3 salsiccia, the 3 margarita, 3 carne, but you're going to add an extra 2 of these half-and-half tickets. And those extra 2 are going to be very helpful in kind of balancing out the 3 to 4 player game. In a 5 to 6 player game, you're going to include the rest of the cards, and so that can be, a large amount of cards, and that just allows the game to run a little bit more smoothly. Once you've placed every deck face down, so that's the ingredient deck, the action deck, and the orders deck face down with the correct number of cards, then you're going to deal 2 order cards to each player, which I've already done so, and they're off camera. You'll get to see an example of it here in a little bit, what it's going to look like in front of you. But you're going to take those 2 order tickets, put them in front of you. You're also going to get dealt a face down action card. And this is something very important to note about Neapolitano's Pizza. Everything but these action cards are going to be public knowledge. So that means that ingredients will be face up, pizzas in progress will be known, your order tickets will be known, your points will be known, everything will be known except having these action cards and what they are. So, you can look at them when you get dealt the action card, but you can't show it to anybody else. It's supposed to give a little bit of a wild card to the game and make it so that you can develop your own strategies. Then you're going to display 5 ingredients from the top of the ingredient deck onto the row, and play will begin. On your different cards, you're going to have key information that determines the value and purpose of each card. So for instance, on a pizza card, we're taking a look at a pepperoni pizza card right now. The top right number is going to indicate how much each individual card or slice is worth. Then the number below that is going to indicate the bonus you receive if the ticket has been completed according to specifications. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but that just basically means that this number is only applicable if the pizza is considered perfect or full, which are interchangeable statements in this game. On your action cards, you're going to notice that the effect is here, and the effect can be played at any point in time. You can play 1 action per turn, and you can only have up to 2 actions. But for instance, on this card, this is a frozen pizza card, which negates other action card effects. And so that means that this can be played as a second action. This is the only card that breaks the rules of the game. The rest of them are just going to be played 1 per person per active turn. So that means if you have 2 action cards, you can play 1 on one turn and 1 on the other. Then there are some action cards that have a total down here, gain 1 point for the end of the game. That just means you take a point from that supply of tokens that we mentioned earlier, and then put that next to you to indicate score. The next card is an order ticket. Now, under the slices needed area right here, you're going to see 4 different entries on the ticket. Now, on a half and half ticket, it's a little bit different than a regular ticket. A regular ticket is going to have the 4 entries and they'll all be the same. So this pepperoni ticket is going to be 4 pepperoni cards or slices, and you're going to get a 2-point bonus if you match that to its specifications for a total of 10. Whereas this one says that you can have 1 variety and a second variety, and you get 2 points for that bonus, ignoring the bonus on the cards that are in the selection, and then the total obviously is unknown because it can be anything. So those are the anatomy, or that's the anatomy of those cards, and how you use them throughout the game. On your turn, the first thing that you're going to do is draw an action card if you have 1 or less. That's the first thing that you have to do, and that makes it so that you have a little bit more of an option during your turn. You may do one of 2 things after that in regards to getting ingredients on your turn. The first thing being you must take 2 ingredients from the ingredient row. Once you grab an ingredient, so say I want the salsicha right here, I'm going to take that. Once I take that, it will immediately replenish the top card from the deck onto the row. Now, if there are only toxic ingredients in the row, so picture that all of these right here, you can't see it because of the glare, but picture all of these right here are bad ingredients. You cannot skip out on taking another ingredient, and you cannot exchange at that point. Once you've grabbed 1 ingredient, you have to take 2 of them. There is a way around this. It's called an exchange, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it next here. But keep in mind that once you grab your first ingredient, you cannot skip out on grabbing another one by doing an exchange. You can use an action card to get out of it, but you have to take 2 ingredients from the row if you've already started your motion of taking an ingredient. Then you may exchange up to 2 ingredients between the row and your freezer if you decide not to take ingredients. So you cannot exchange a toxic ingredient for a toxic ingredient. So if I have this bleach in my freezer and I want to switch it out for, let's say, a hair to save myself some point damage, I cannot do that. But I could swap this salsicha for this plastic, which I mean, may sound crazy, but the reason you might want to do that is to use an action card to mess somebody else up. Or I can take this plastic out of my freezer and switch it with the salsicha and then put my salsicha in my freezer. Your freezer is going to be where you store ingredients that you may not want to put on your pizzas immediately. When you select ingredients, you may play them on an order ticket, or you can also store them for later. This is important for avoiding unnecessary action card effects and for stashing ingredients you can't use at the moment. But beware, the freezer only has 4 available slots. And so that means that it can also help you avoid putting a toxic ingredient on a pizza, but keep in mind, if your freezer's full and the row is all toxic ingredients, then you cannot move any of the ingredients from your freezer over to pizzas in progress or order tickets as you're getting ready to start. You may also complete up to 2 pizzas in one turn. So that means you would complete one, it would go away, you'd get an order ticket to replace it, and you can complete that one. But if you go to complete your 3rd pizza, which is really, really hard to do, you cannot do it in that active turn. Now the 6th ingredient row space right here is for an action card called All You Can Eat Buffet. And this means that you can, when you play this, you draw an ingredient from the ingredient row and place it as a 6th option. When you put the card in front of you, you have to put it in front of you next to your freezer. Every time another player grabs an ingredient from that space, you gain a point for the end of the game. So that means if I played this card, I'd put it in front of me, we would draw out a 6th ingredient here, and if somebody really wants to finish a carne pizza, which the carne are the cards that have the highest value in the game, so they're, you know, very valuable, and so that means if something valuable gets put in that spot, they have to give you a point in order to take it, which is something that's very important for the game as it progresses, because it's an easy way to mine points and get ahead of people. Also, during the game, you may get stuck with an ingredient you cannot use or store. So if I can't use this carne because all I have is like a variety ticket and a pepperoni ticket or something, if I have no carne ticket and my freezer is full and I cannot use this, this is going to go into the ingredient discard spot on the board. And that just indicates that it will get reshuffled into a new deck after the deck has been exhausted. Toxic ingredients cannot be reshuffled into the deck. They will be removed from the game. Most cards that have the effect tell you to remove them from the game. Alright, so the end of the game is triggered by one of two events. The first one being if the ingredient deck is completely gone. So let's just pretend like this ingredient deck is completely gone, and the only thing you can do, is grab an ingredient here, and then it doesn't replenish. Well, if it doesn't replenish, there's nothing to be able to supply it with, so that means the end of the game has been started. In that situation, the player will grab the pizza slice token and put that in front of them. That will signify that they have triggered the end of the game. The other example of an end-game scenario would be if the order deck is gone and you go to draw an order card to fill out your set of 2 and you cannot. In that situation, it would be the same. You would grab this token, put it in front of you, and at that point you have triggered the end of the game. Every player will have one final turn, including yourself, since we're just saying theoretically I'm the one that triggered the end of the game. So I would get to finish my turn, obviously with less options, and then play would continue in the order that it has, and everybody will be able to take a final turn. At that point, when everybody has taken their final turn and it comes back to the person with the token, the game has officially ended, and that's when you start endgame scoring. So let's go take a look and see some of the endgame scenarios. Once you complete an order ticket, you redraw back up to 2 again from the order deck. Some cards give you an extra order ticket. There's an action card, there's also an incident card, but this only lasts until the ticket's completed, and then the ticket limit returns back to 2. When you complete a pizza, you may, for instance, have these 2 here, and then you grab these 2 this turn. So you can move these 4 pepperoni cards over to this pizza. In that situation, you're going to have 2, 4, 6, 8, plus the 2-point bonus on the card for completing it perfect with all of its required pieces. And that would make a total of 10. When you complete an order ticket, try to put the cards underneath the order ticket, because it's easier for endgame scoring when trying to figure out what types of pizzas you have. You receive 3 points for every pair of pizzas that are the same. The toxic ingredients do not stop you from scoring, but the intention of the pizza must be the same for both. On a regular pizza, this is self-explanatory. So for instance, if you have all 4 of these slices or cards on your pizza, this is a pepperoni pizza. If you have another one right here that's a pepperoni pizza, if both of these were completed, it doesn't matter if they have bad ingredients on them, but if they're just completed, you would score 3 points because you've made 2 pepperoni pizzas. Now, on a half and half pizza, this variety ticket here, say that I have 2 pepperoni and 2 carne on one pizza in this variety, and then I have another variety, but it is 2 carne and say like a fingernails or something, or a plastic. Say there's a plastic on there. Then that means that the intention of this pizza was not known, and so therefore if you have a carne and pepperoni and a carne and plastic, you do not get the 3-point bonus at the end of the game because you cannot tell that this was supposed to be a carne and pepperoni pizza. You also receive 10 points at the end of the game for completing the most order tickets. Once again, they don't have to be perfect pizzas, but if you've completed an order ticket either through a card effect or just the regular 4-card limit, and you have more of them than your opponent, then you will get 10 points. There are friendly ties in this game, so that means that if you actually score the same amount of completed order tickets, then you both will receive 10 points. Now, if you complete a pizza, complete pizzas, and they're all perfect, every single one of them, they can be finished early, but they can't have any bad ingredients on them. So if I had a pepperoni pizza with plastic, it would immediately take me out of the running for that 15-point bonus at the end of the game. But say that I'm a really good pizza master and I have created all of these perfect pizzas. I get 15 points at the end of the game for having perfect pizzas, and these are friendly ties as well. So if everybody else has perfect pizzas, they will get 15 points as well. And finally, every player is going to lose points equivalent to what the total of their negative ingredients are, their toxic ingredients are in their freezer at the end of the game. It doesn't matter if this toxic ingredient is on a pizza. If it is in the freezer, that's the only thing that matters. So at the end of the game, I would lose 1 point here if I still had this. If I had this situation where, I had these 2 order tickets and I had this here, but I also had the plastic in here, then I would lose 1 point at the end of the game for having that plastic in my freezer. If I can get this out of there before the end of the game, and you'll see ways to do that, if I can get that out of there, then I would not lose any points. Alright, so this is how to play Neapolitano's Pizza. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to comment and ask, and we hope you'll enjoy this game as much as we enjoyed making it. The board is a stretch goal, and it's something that I really hope happens, because it brings out my vision for the game. The freezer cards will be redone, hopefully, with some more color, maybe a different design at that point, if we reach that goal. And we're going to be making many more improvements before this game is hopefully funded. So thank you for watching this, and have a nice day.